There is nothing like mother's cooking. A long time ago, when Chuff was in the sieve, when Cuff Mountain was shrouded in mist. What is that thing which you call life? Years would pass in a moment, and the invitation to happiness could only be found in one call to prayer. When it was hard to tell the truth, truths would be lost and many lies told. Once upon a time, in a village, in a house, a bald boy lived with his aged mother. Keloghlan was very clever and very good, but just a little lazy. Maybe more than just a little lazy. All day long he would sit by the hearth, scratching and thinking like a cat. If it were not that his mother would bring what food she could find, he would have died of hunger. Sometimes his mother would get angry and scold him. Sometimes she would feel sorry and beg him. She would say, "My bold boy, my dear Baldy, my boy who doesn't earn his crust, why, son, are you such a pest and a trouble to me?" Then she would add, "Boys like you are strong as an ox. I may be here now, but soon I will be gone. Why don't you knuckle down and go and find a job somewhere?" No matter what his poor mother would say, do you think Keloghlan listened? Far from it. The words went in one ear and came out the other. It just went on and on. So there it was. Keloghlan was never bothered, and his mother never tired of telling him off. Every day she would find an occasion to tell him to go off and work. Morning and night she nagged at Keloghlan in this way like a dripping tap. "Look, my dear bold boy, every last penny of what your father left us has gone. We had an old black donkey, but he too passed away last year. What is this village of ours? 3 steps to the right is Hassan's barn. 5 steps to the left is Uncle Mestan's hayloft. But in the world there are such great towns. There are cities where the drinking fountains flow with sherbet. There is more than enough work there. They're crying out for people to come and get stuck in. But you just carry on dreaming, scratch your head in front of this fire and think your bird-brain thoughts. There is gold out there for the taking. Get out there and dig for it and you'll see how rich you become." Well, even patience has its limit. Our Keloghlan could stand no more. Especially when he heard that there was gold out there for the taking, his eyes lit up. Keloghlan may have been clever, but he was not one of those really smart children. He took things literally, not thinking that there was a metaphorical meaning. He scratched his head and thought for a while. Then he said, "All right, Mum, I've decided. I will set off for one of these cities. I will bring back loads of gold for you." He got up and prepared himself double quick. He hung his mother's scarf around his neck as a reminder, packed his spade and set off down the road. God help him. All summer and into the autumn he walked over hills and through valleys. They say he went very quickly. He arrived at a city. Well, a city is a city at the end of the day. Ironworkers and coppersmiths hammered at their anvils. Nightingales could have joined in the harmony. At first, our Keloghlan just stared blankly. Then he walked from street to street. His attention was caught by the junction of 2 main roads. So, with a cry of, "With God's help!" he dug in his spade and began making a hole in the street. As our Keloghlan was sweating away and digging up the road, passers-by looked on in surprise. Some laughed as they passed, others got angry. They had a right to be. This Keloghlan, with the spade in his hand, was digging up the street. What a thing to do! At that point, an old, white-bearded man slowly approached. He stood in front of Keloghlan. "Young man," he said, "why are you digging up this road? Is it right to dig up roads and streets, while we should be building and repairing them? Is it sensible to destroy and spoil them? What do you think you're doing, son?" Keloghlan stood up and wiped his brow. He blinked and looked at the old man. If it had been someone else, he would have given a rude answer. However, the fact that the man was old and wise stopped him. "Look, Grandpa," he said. "I am my mother's son. My mother told me that there was gold here for the taking, and if I dug here, I would see how rich I became. Do you think you know better than my mother? Well then, if you say you know better, tell me, and I will do that." The man realized that our Keloghlan was naive. He saw that the child did not understand the metaphorical meaning of words. Laughing, he put his hand on Keloghlan's shoulder and said, "Look, my lad, you seem to be a good boy. What your mother said was right and true, but you didn't understand her. You've got to knock on doors and stick at it, or you will never earn anything. Now go and stick at it. Do whatever work they give you. Then you will earn money." For some time, Keloghlan stared after the man as he walked away. He thought, "I think this man is cleverer than my mother." Throwing his spade aside, he walked away. As he walked from street to street, our Keloghlan thought to himself, "So I have to stick to a door, do I? In that case, let me go and stick myself." He was passing in front of a maker of molasses. He thought the molasses was tar and said, "Friend, give me a pint of that tar." The man laughed and answered, "My boy, that's not tar. It's what people call molasses, and they can't get enough of it. But if you need tar, there's some in that shop across the way." Our Keloghlan brought a pint of tar from the shop which the man showed him, then set off onto the streets of the city. This street, that street. Our Keloghlan started wandering around. He looked at the doors of the houses and admired them. He said, "If I'm going to stick, let the door be a good one." Anyway, in the end, he stopped in front of a door. Well, this was a door in the full sense of the word, a door made of walnut wood, inlaid with mother of pearl and carved fit for palaces. He spread plenty of tar on it. The door's lovely carvings filled with tar like mud. Then he turned his back to the door, stood on tiptoes and stuck himself to the door. Straight away, the tar stuck him tight. Our Keloghlan stuck to the door like glue. After a while, a gardener came to the door in order to go in, and what should he see? First he said, "Oh God!" in surprise. Then he scolded angrily. "What do you think you're doing, boy? What are you up to? Why are you leaning on our master's door?" Keloghlan laughed. "It's not a question of leaning, Mr. Gardener. I'm stuck to this door." He settled down. Whereas the little man got tired of stamping and grumbling, our boy carried on merrily, stuck to the door. The people in the house came out to see what the shouting was about. They were amazed and stood in open-mouthed surprise. Others who realized what was going on were even more surprised. Unable to see how to sort out the situation, they said, "Let's tell the master of the house." The master of the house was a very irritable and sour-faced person. When he learned what was going on, he came out. When he saw the door covered in tar, he stood in front of Keloghlan, who was still stuck to the door. The gentleman twisted his moustache and burst out at him in anger. "Goodness gracious, child! What's all this?" he demanded. Keloghlan answered, calm as you like, "Look, the situation is this. My mother said that there was gold here for the taking if I dug, but it turned out not to be so. An old man told me if I stick to a door, I will earn money. I thought that this door looked suitable, so I came and stuck myself to it. The rest of it is up to you, sir." When Keloghlan said this, that sour-faced and irritable gentleman suddenly burst out laughing. He started guffawing. He laughed so much that tears came to his eyes. That never-laughing, always long-faced gentleman laughed heartily, his hands on his stomach. Then he said, "God bless you, Keloghlan. There was nothing to laugh about, really. Who could have made me laugh if it weren't for you? In fact, you have stuck yourself to a good door. From now on you will stay in this house. You will be my servant. Of course you will earn money too." On saying this, the gentleman turned to his servants. "Give Keloghlan a purse of gold," he ordered. "That gold is your welcoming present. Come on then, I hope you do well in the job, my bold boy." In this way our Keloghlan began to work. Time passed. One day, the master of the house ordered Keloghlan to bring him a cup of water. Keloghlan ran like the wind. He poured water into a golden cup. Just as he was about to go into the gentleman's room, his eye caught the large mirror on the wall. How should poor old Keloghlan know what a mirror was? What should he see but a bold boy like himself, holding a gold cup and staring? He thought to himself, "I am sure this bold boy wants to take water to the gentleman and get a tip instead of me." Then he thought, "He goes too far." He frowned and glared at the boy in the mirror and whispered, "Get away from here." What should he see but that the boy opposite copied whatever he did? Keloghlan became very angry. He lifted and hurled the gold cup at the face of the boy in the mirror. The huge mirror shattered and crashed to the floor. Servants came running on hearing the noise, and the gentleman also came out. He saw that his wonderful beloved mirror was in splinters on the floor. The gentleman was very angry and shouted, "You clumsy baldy! Why have you broken my beautiful mirror? You should be careful." It is impossible to describe how sad and ashamed Keloghlan was. But sir, he stammered, I didn't break anything. There was a boy over there. You had asked me to bring you water. He was quicker than me and took a gold cup of water. He was going to go in. Of course, you were going to give the tip to him. I made signs to him, but he didn't understand. I warned him, but he didn't listen. So I got angry and threw the cup at his head. There was a great smash and the boy disappeared. The master of the house understood what had happened and he started laughing. It really amused him. He called out to his servants, "Give a purse of gold to Keloghlan, quick!" They ran and brought a purse full of glittering gold and put it into the bold boy's hand. Baldy was delighted. "Thanks, sir," he said. Then he started singing a little ditty. "I can't grow a beard and my hair has no hair. I've got 2 bags of gold, so what do I care?" The master of the house just laughed at first. Then he became thoughtful and said to himself, "There is meaning in what Keloghlan is saying." "Well done, Keloghlan," he said. "I understand what you are getting at. You're trying to tell me that I am beardless and that everyone would make fun of me if I had no wealth and power. What respect I get today is because I am wealthy and powerful. A person must not rely on his possessions or influence. If he has them, he should help the needy. In fact, what you did just now also had a meaning. You saw yourself in the mirror. The expression with which one looks in the mirror is what one sees in return. If you had smiled at him, the man in the mirror would have smiled at you. When you frowned and were angry, he did the same. I liked very much what you said and did. You deserve another purse of gold, Keloghlan. Give this man another purse of gold." They brought and gave him another purse of gold coins. Time passed. Some guests came to visit the gentleman. They were important people, like landowners and rulers. They were taken into a large reception room. The visitors made a demand of the gentleman which was not possible. When the gentleman refused, the man talking to him gave a cough. He hummed and hawed, then he tried to open the subject again. At that point, Keloghlan, who was serving them, poured him a glass of water and said, "Here you are, sir, a glass of water to help you swallow." The man, embarrassed, had to exceed the point and bowed his head. Keloghlan's master was very pleased about this and he smiled under his moustache. Then he announced, "Come, gentlemen, it wouldn't be right to let what a boy says put us in a bad mood. Come and have some baklava." The guests, though, had rather lost their appetites, ate a few mouthfuls for the sake of appearances, and then they took their leave. The master of the house called across to Keloghlan, "My boy, our guests are going to leave. Turn their shoes around." I think you know what turning shoes means. You know, when guests are ready to leave, you turn the shoes pair by pair in front of the main door, so that their toe caps look outside and their heels look towards the door, so that guests can put on their shoes easily," he ordered. Alas, as our bold boy always takes words from their little meanings only, he went out and faced with so many shoes. He brooded over how he will turn all these shoes around. And then, beginning from the softest ones, he started to turn the insides of the shoes to the outside. Some were really difficult, but with some effort he managed to turn the shoes inside out like a pair of socks. But he had the biggest difficulty with the high boots of the most esteemed guest. He only managed to turn the leg of one boot inside out. When it took so long for Keloghlan to come back, "Oh, my bold boy, didn't you manage to turn the shoes yet?" he asked. Keloghlan opened the door and said, "I did, my dear sir, I did," he yelled, "but it has been a bit difficult. I couldn't turn the boots." The guests couldn't give any meaning to all this. They looked at each other and laughed sneeringly. They laughed and laughed, but their laughter froze on their lips when they went out. Their eyes goggled and stared at the shoes that had been turned inside out. But then it was the master's turn to laugh. In this side-splitting situation, he burst into deep laughter after laughter. After the guests had left, the master took Keloghlan opposite him and said, "Well done to you, my boldy boy," he praised. "You said what I couldn't say, and you did what I couldn't do. They deserved this. You've won a purse of gold, and give him another purse of gold," he ordered. Servants ran and brought the gold and gave it to our baldy boy. Keloghlan took the purse of gold and weighed it in his hand, and did not stuff it under his belt as he always did. He opened the purse and poured all the shiny golden coins in his hand. And, "We need yogurt, we need cream, we need come out from the wrong stream. Don't throw everything given into your pocket, Keloghlan. We need to count them even if on the street you found them," he said, and started to count the golden coins. Let him busy with counting, but the master burst into laughter. "Well then," the master said, "how do you know the number of coins in the purse?" Keloghlan finished counting his golden coins and put them back into the purse and placed the purse under his belt, and then replied, "Oh, my master, let no one be under suspicion. I counted the gold coins you gave before. In every purse there were 100 coins. As you give 100 in each purse, if there is any missing in this one, I would not have the face to tell this to you, and this would surely harm our relationship." The master scratched his head and thought deeply, and then, "Well done to you, boldy boy," he said. "You are both a very clever and a very honest chap. May all you got be worth your salt." Days kept elapsing. Even if it's a fairy tale, realities hurt, and all the realities were melted in only one event. Despite being very comfortable, Keloghlan's heart started to suffer from feeling homesick. Our bold boy missed his beloved mother. One night he dreamt about his mother. He sprung up from his bed and could not sleep any more. He kept turning in the bed until the morning and started to mutter, "Oh, the meals of my mother! Oh, the heat of the tandosh!" The master, who slept in the room next to Keloghlan's, on the other hand, heard all his murmurings. The master woke up for the morning prayer, and after he performed the prayer, he couldn't resist it any more, and he called Keloghlan to his presence. "Tell me, my son," he asked compassionately, "what is the thing bothering you so much to cause you to mutter, 'Oh, the meals of my mother! Oh, the heat of the tandoor!' all night?" Keloghlan felt so embarrassed and was so saddened he hummed and hawed. Then he couldn't resist it and explained how much he missed his mother. The master was very upset. "I really liked you, Keloghlan," he said sadly. "I regarded you as my own son. While my name had been known as sulky, dark, grim-faced man, you taught me to laugh. I, however, am not willing your mother to be departed from you. I grant you permission. Go to your poor mother. Whenever you are in trouble, regard me as your father and know here as your own house. My dear son, I make all my rights upon you halal, and please make your efforts you spent here halal for me. After expressing his feelings, tears started to fall down on the master's cheeks. Keloghlan stayed there on that day too. With the order of the master, a travel ration was prepared for Keloghlan. Very early in the morning, while the roosters were giving the glad tidings of a new day, all the household were at the main door. The master filled Keloghlan's saddlebag with gold coins. They tied his food around his belt and farewelled him until the exit of the town. Our Keloghlan took his course homeward. You might know, steps towards home are taken wider. Up hills are climbed easily over like downhills. Keloghlan went and went. So, this is a tale. He stopped by some water springs and slept under tree shades. And finally one morning, he reached his village. He reached it, but at first sight nobody could recognize him. Keloghlan was not the poor old Keloghlan anymore. He was very smart. He looked very proud with one hand on his chest and one hand on his waist. Anyway, those who recognized him first ran to his mother to give her the good news. The mother and the son hugged each other so tight, tears of joy rushed down their cheeks. That day passed in the village with joyous feasts and festivals until the evening. One group of visitors followed by another group of visitors. In the evening at last, the mother and the son could be alone together. Keloghlan brought the saddlebag and emptied it in front of his mother. Many flickering golden coins filled their dingy room with light. Keloghlan's mother became very happy. "May your hands never see any trouble, my dear son," she prayed gladly. Then she added, "Did not I tell you that gold coins are attached to the end of a pickaxe? So you see." When his mother talked like this, Keloghlan smiled and said scholarly, "Well, you told me so, my dear mother, but the reality I found is different. One is supposed to stick to a door. As soon as I struck the pickaxe to the ground, men harassed me and held my arm and threw me aside. Thank heaven that an old man gave me some advice and told me that I should go and stick myself to a door." When Keloghlan finished his words, his mother smiled meaningfully. "Again, what I said was true, my son. If you wouldn't strike the pickaxe to the ground, nobody would harass you. And if you didn't express your problem, the old man wouldn't give you advice. And if he wouldn't give the advice, you wouldn't think to do that. You see?" Keloghlan kissed his mother's hand with respect and said, "You are right, my dear mother." He had a very nice sleep that night. They woke up with great happiness in the morning, and at their bedside a saddlebag full of gold coins. Do you think that they spent all the coins on their own desires? No, they handed out gold coins in one section of the bag to needy people in the village, and they bought lands and animals with the rest of the coins and lived thereafter with happiness earned by their own efforts.